The storm finds me first. It threads wet fingers through my hair and drags the forest's breath into my lungs. Cold, metallic, wrong. Branches whip like warning flags. Leaves turn their pale bellies to the wind as if the whole canopy is trying to flee. I run anyway. Omegas are good at that, at reading danger, at avoiding it, at surviving it. We learn to tuck our heads and make ourselves small in a world that thinks small things are easier to break. Tonight I'm done being small. I clutch the satchel against my chest and leap a fallen trunk slick with moss. A howl breaks the sky behind me. Too deep to be a scout. Too ragged to be a warning. It's the sound of something powerful trying not to die. The moon should be high and clean, silver like a blessing, but the clouds have swallowed her whole, and every shadow carries teeth. Keep moving, I tell myself. Breathe. Don't stop, the river answers with its thunder. I've always trusted the river more than people. Water doesn't lie. It just runs where gravity tells it to. It remembers the shape of everything that's ever cut it, and keeps going anyway. Branches scrape my arms. I don't feel the sting. The ache in my ribs has swallowed everything else. I know what it means. My wolf, quiet most days, pacing now, pushing, trying to wake fully. My wolf is not the loud, arrogant thing that the higher ranks carry like a crown. She's a low fire, a coal under ash. She has kept me alive by not being seen. The pack elders would call what I'm doing defiance. Running into rogue country, dragging supplies without permission, ignoring curfew. All of it treason if they need it to be. Omegas are only allowed to break when it doesn't inconvenience the powerful. They didn't want me tending the injured outsider. They said rogues don't belong anywhere, that mercy is a luxury we can't afford, that a wounded wolf is a baited trap. Maybe they're right. Maybe I'm foolish. Maybe I'm done letting other people tell me what kind of soul I have. The wind shifts. Under the rain and river and rot, I smell it. Iron and salt and lightning. Blood, yes, but something else too. Something old. My skin prickles so sharply it almost feels like frost. I slow, crouch, and slide along the dark spine of a boulder until the river opens ahead like a black mouth. Foam claws its banks. White water churns around jagged teeth of stone. In that chaos, a shape moves. Broad shoulders, a heavy chest, fur matted with rain and blood. A wolf, enormous, too large to be anything but born of alpha stock. He staggers, tries to climb a rock, slips, claws the surface again. The river throws him back like a god who doesn't take offerings. My satchel thumps the mud. Hey, I whisper, as if sound matters over this roar. Hey, look at me, he does. The eyes are what steal my air. Not just the color, dark gold with a crack of amber like a fault line, but what's inside them. Fury banked hard, pain that refuses to show. Command, even on a riverbank where he's losing to water and gravity and his own blood. Command like a posture a warrior never forgets. No, not a scout, not a wanderer. This is a king's wolf, if not the Alpha King himself. My heart ricochets once, slamming so hard I taste copper. Stories ripple through every pack like current, of the Alpha King who keeps the peace with teeth, who accepts surrenders like prayers, and returns betrayals like storms. I don't know his name. They say no one speaks it without permission. The wolf sways, then crashes to his knees. The river surges higher as if greedy for him. Move, my wolf says. Now. I leap from the boulder and drop into the mud at the water's edge. Cold rushes up my legs. The river tries to pull me, but I was born here. I know where to step and where to pretend I am more stone than girl. I wedge a boot against a hidden shelf and reach for him. He snaps. Not a real bite, just a reflex, a pain snarl, a warning. I don't flinch. If you wanted me dead, I say, steadying my voice, you'd have done it already. The gold cracks again, this time a flicker of confusion. His head lowers and a tremor runs through him. His paws scrabble uselessly against wet rock. The current hammers both of us. My arms burn with effort, muscles screaming. I grip the ruff at his throat and drag inch by inch, like I'm hauling night out of the water. Come on, I plead. Whatever you are, don't let the river win. He might be a tyrant. He might be a saint. He might be the end of every quiet corner I've carved for myself. I can tell myself I'm doing this because I'm a healer. Because mercy is a habit I can't break. Because I would have come for any creature with a pulse and a stubborn will to keep it. But that's not all of it. The truth is uglier and more dangerous. The instant his eyes met mine, something slid into place inside my ribs, like a lock finally finding the right key. It's not the fireworks they claim. It's not a choir or a vision or the moon laying hands on my skull. It's a quiet click, a certainty. A threat, mine, my wolf says, low and shocked. No, I whisper back. Not now, not ever. We don't belong to kings. Together we lunge. He surges with me once, then again, and suddenly we're out of the undertow, tumbling onto the rocks. My knees slam stone. Pain sparks white. I throw my weight across his ribcage to keep him from rolling back in. He goes still under me with a sound that is almost human, a rough, bitten-off groan. Stay, I say, breathless. Please, his flank heaves. Up close, the blood is everywhere, dark in the rain, tacky along his shoulder where something tore deep. Claw marks, 4 parallel lines like a signature, not made by a rogue. These are cleaner, deeper, pack-trained, someone who knew how to wound and not miss. The rain dilutes the scent, but there it is beneath everything, the sour tang of fear that doesn't belong to him. He was hunted. I remind my hands to do what they know. Satchel, gauze, needle, thread. Cloth bites skin. My fingers shake so badly I drop the curved needle twice before I get the angle right. He watches me without blinking while I flush the wounds with river water and tincture, while I pull torn flesh together, while I stitch. When the needle pierces too close to a nerve, his jaw tightens and his paw digs into the mud. He doesn't snap again. He doesn't need to. His restraint sits heavy as a question. Who did this? I ask, though I know he can't answer me here. Even an alpha can't form words with a wolf's tongue, but his ear twitches at my voice. The rain has softened to a sullen drizzle. The forest holds its breath. Rogues didn't. I answer myself softly. They don't leave lines like this. Not unless someone taught them. A branch breaks uphill. A clatter that isn't wind. My head jerks up. The wolf goes rigid. His gaze flicks past me into the trees and a rumble starts in his chest. Not fear this time. Warning. I go still in the way prey learns to, but my mind is anything but. If they chased him this far, they're still coming. If they see me bending over a bleeding stranger with alpha eyes, I'll be a traitor before I can explain I'm a healer. And if it's my pack, if the elders sent hunters to finish what water didn't, then I've already chosen my side. The brush whispers again. A shadow slips through the pines, then another. No scent I know, no familiar footfall pattern. Their silhouettes are lean and wrong, shoulders too tight as if their bones were hammered together. Wolves don't move like that unless something has starved them of trust for too long. 3. I breathe. Maybe 4. The wolf pitches to stand. I press a hand to his shoulder. You can't fight like this, Gold cracks. Pride is a taste on the air. I know, I murmur. And I hate being told what I can't do too. But I can get you out, if you let me. The forest offers me a single path. A narrow deer track that snakes along the river and vanishes under a wall of bramble and fallen pine. As a child, I found a crawl space there. A crude cave beneath roots and stone where I hid when the older pups turned their games into punishments. It's small. It's damp. It saved me more than once. Move when I move, I whisper into his fur. Slow, quiet. Don't prove them right about you. Them, all of them. The ones who say alphas are only teeth and orders. The ones who say omegas are only silent and soft. I am neither tonight, or I am both. Or I am something else no law ever accounted for. We slip along the rocks, my body a shield next to his. The rain hides our scent, the river eats our noise, and for a breathless handful of heartbeats, I believe we will make it. Then the closest rogue lifts his head and sniffs once hard. His gaze locks on mine through the gray. The look that lands on me is not hunger, it's recognition. He bares his teeth, not in a grin, but in a shape that thinks it is one. Found you, he says. The voice is wrong in a wolf's throat, mangled by the shape of the mouth, but the word is clear. The wolf beside me turns his head so fast the world blurs. His body comes up between me and the rogues in a motion so fluid, I swear the river pauses to watch. The growl that rolls out of him this time is not a warning, it's a promise. It says, I will not retreat again. The rogues step from the ferns. 4, not 3. Their coats are patchy. Their eyes gleam in the failing light with a fever I know too well, because I've seen it in men who will hurt you and call it justice. The leader tilts his head, sniffing at the air around me like I'm a puzzle he's almost solved. You, he says, voice thick. The healer who pulls threads out of death. Always thought you'd stitch the wrong body together one night. I swallow the tremor in my throat. There's nothing for you here. Walk away. Can't. Orders. His gaze slides to the wolf at my side, then back to me. King's dog doesn't get to crawl out of the river. And you, little Omega, you don't get to pick who lives. He lunges. There's no time to think. There's only body and memory and the savage miracle of a choice made before fear can choke it. I shove the satchel between us and swing up the river rock to draw him off. Fast, bright, loud. Omegas are invisible until we choose not to be. I launch a stone with my foot. It cracks against his shoulder. He snarls and pivots midair, jaws shredding moss instead of skin. Behind him, another rogue streaks toward the wolf, toward the gold and the blood, and the stubborn, upright pride still holding him steady. I plant my feet between them and the water, and wish for claws. My wolf shoves hard at my ribs, up, 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 like a sun breaking the horizon too fast. My vision sharpens, the world leaping into cruel focus. Every raindrop a bead on a wire, every breath a counted thing. When I speak, the sound carries more weight than my throat should hold. Enough. It lands between us like a thrown knife. The rogues hesitate. Not long, not much. Just a sliver of doubt cut out of the charge. It's all the Alpha needs. He slams his shoulder into the leader and drives him sideways into the bracken. The impact breaks a rotten stump with a shotgun crack. The other 2 leap. The second's teeth rake fur and the third tries for my leg. I kick, feel bone, and go down hard anyway. Mud fills my mouth with the taste of pennies. A hot breath snarls against my ear. I don't cry out. Maybe I should. Maybe someone would come. But the people who come when you scream aren't always the ones you want. The wolf is faster than pain. He tears the attacker off me with a movement that is pure authority and blood. The rogue yelps, backpedals, and bolts, shoulder trailing scarlet. The leader regains his feet and sees the shape of the fight changed. He looks at me again. Really looks. And something ugly and bright flashes behind his eyes. This isn't over, he pants. He doesn't belong to you. I didn't say he did, I answer, and only realize after that the he I chose wasn't the rogue. The leader's smile shows more gum than tooth. The king will take what's his. He always does. And then he'll take what you are. He vanishes into brush before I can move, the others streaking after, their fear sour and high. The rain begins again like applause that doesn't mean praise. I kneel there trembling until my hands remember how to be hands. The wolf sways once and sinks to the mud. I crawl to him, press my palm over the worst of the bleeding, and feel the world shrink to his pulse against my skin. It's a drumbeat with a word baked into it, live. I don't know how long we stay like that. Time is a circle, and I trace it with the heel of my hand. Finally, I lean close to his ear, because it feels right to speak to him where secrets live. I'm going to help you shift, I say. You'll heal better, but you'll be weaker at first. Don't do anything proud and stupid. He huffs a sound that might actually be a laugh. It roughs up something inside me I'm not ready to name. Listen, I add, quieter. I have a place. It's not much, but no one looks there. We need to get you off this river before they find the nerve to come back with friends. I press the flat of my hand to his ribs, to the steady thunder beneath, and I pull, not with muscle. With that part of me that answers the moon even on nights she hides her face, my wolf rises like a tide turned by something bigger than gravity. For a heartbeat, I feel both bodies, mine and his, as if we share a line between bones. It's not a mate bond, not a claim. It's a door opening into a room I didn't know my soul had. He shudders. The snap and rewind of magic rides under his skin. The shape of him shivers, smears, and then resolves into a man sprawled on the riverbank where a wolf lay. He is all of the things I feared, and none of the things I expected. Broad shoulders. Scars like maps. Dark hair wet against his temples. Blood on his chest where the stitches already thread through new flesh. And those eyes, unchanged, still that dangerous gold. Now set above a mouth too stern for softness and a jaw carved by a life that does not forgive weakness. He lifts his head, finds me, and the world tilts. Don't speak, I say, because I'm afraid of what his voice will do to whatever fragile control I'm holding. You'll tear it all open again. He ignores that, of course. Kings don't learn obedience the way the rest of us do. His voice is low and rough with river and pain. It's the sound a storm makes when it realizes it can be gentle if it chooses. Your name. My instincts pile up at the back of my teeth. Names have power. Giving him mine feels like crossing a line I can't uncross. But I've already crossed so many. Aria, I say. And the rain seems to say it back. Aria, 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 carrying it downriver toward places I've never been. He nods once, like that matters in a way I don't understand. He pushes a hand into the mud, tries to sit, and the effort makes his skin go gray. I catch his shoulders. Don't be proud, I warn, softer. Let me be strong for you. For now, something in his gaze eases. It's not surrender. It's trust loaned at a terrible interest rate. He lets me loop his arm over my shoulders. He's heavy, heat radiating off him like a forge. And for a second, I hate every story that made alphas sound like monsters and forgot to mention that monsters can bleed. We move, the river at our backs, the crawl space ahead, like a mouth in the roots. The forest watches. The storm quiets to a steady breath. I ease him into the shadowed hollow and cover the entrance with a log and fern, the way I learned when I was 10, and hiding from boys who didn't know the difference between play and cruelty. Inside, the air is damp and smells like old earth and resin. I tuck my satchel under his head. He lies still with the absolute stillness of a warrior whose measure every movement's cost. Why did you help me? He asks finally, voice raking low, because I can. Because you looked at me like I was not small. Because my wolf said a dangerous word and I'm pretending not to hear it. Because if I didn't, and you died, the river would never forgive me. I say only, because someone had to. He studies me in the dark. There's a question in his gaze that terrifies me. Not what am I, but who? As if he's measuring me against a story he's carried too long. He closes his eyes. They'll come back. I know. They weren't rogues. I know that too. Silence settles, thick enough to hold. I listen to the rhythm of his breath, count each one like a bead. I can't fix the world tonight. I can't save him from the storm that hunts him, or from the crown that might chain him harder than any iron. I can only do what I've always done. Keep something alive when it would be easier to let it go. Aria, he says again, like a test. Like a promise. I won't let them touch you. I should tell him I don't need his protection. That I've been surviving without it since I was old enough to stand. That I don't belong to anyone, least of all a man who carries the weight of a kingdom in his bones. Instead, I sit with my back against the root wall and let his words be a thin blanket over the cold. Sleep, I whisper. We'll run at first light. He doesn't answer. He's already falling, slow, reluctant, trusting sleep the way soldiers trust a new bridge. I take the first watch. I always do. I listen to the river talk to the stones. I listen to the forest warn and then settle. I listen to my own heart trying to make a song out of fear. Somewhere, out beyond the roots, a wolf lifts its head and howls once, long and clean and full of a hunger that isn't just for meat. The sound walks the edge between longing and dread. It finds me in the dark place where my wolf curls around my ribs and asks the question I keep refusing. What happens to a girl who saves a king? I don't know. But in the hush between thunder and dawn, with river mist creeping into the hollow and my palms still warm from his pulse, I decide on one true thing. Whatever happens next, I will not be small for it. I close my eyes and breathe. The night breathes back, and for the first time in years, I am not pretending I'm alone. Morning finds us like a secret no one has discovered yet. The world smells clean. Rain-washed earth, pine resin, smoke from distant hearths. Light crawls through the cracks of the roots above, thin gold threads stitching the air. The alpha lies half buried in shadow. The rise and fall of his chest slower now, more even. Every breath feels borrowed from a storm that nearly took him. I sit beside him, cross-legged, my fingers still stained with the memory of his blood. Sleep has been a rumor all night. My eyes sting from keeping watch. from the weight of choices I haven't named yet. He stirs. It's not much. A twitch of his hand, a shift of muscle along his jaw. But it's enough to send my pulse scattering. His skin is fever hot. The wound I stitched looks clean, the flesh already knitting faster than human time should allow. Alpha regeneration. Proof of what I already know. He's no ordinary wolf. When his eyes open, they are less gold now, more amber, sunlight diluted by exhaustion, still sharp enough to cut. Where are we? His voice is rough sand against stone, in a hollow near the river. I keep my tone steady, practical. You needed shelter. He looks around slowly, as if memorizing escape routes, threats, my face. You brought me here. I did. Why? I tie the satchel shut with trembling fingers. Because someone had to. He studies me for a long, unbroken moment, the kind that makes you feel both seen and dissected. You risked your life for a stranger. I meet his gaze. No one else was dying in front of me. That earns me silence. Not approval, not disapproval. Just quiet. He leans back against the root wall, grimacing as the movement pulls at his stitches. I reach instinctively to stop him, and his hand snaps up, catching my wrist. It's not a threat. It's reflex. His fingers curling around mine like armor remembering how to hold. His skin is warm and rough, the grip firm enough to steal my breath. Don't, he warns softly. You don't touch an alpha without permission. I should flinch. I don't. Then consider this permission to keep breathing, I say, easing his hand away. You tear that wound open again, and the river gets its wish. Something flickers in his eyes. Surprise, amusement, maybe a faint spark of respect. He lets go. You have a sharp tongue, he murmurs. Comes with being talked over all my life. His lips tilt, almost a smile, but it dies too quickly. You shouldn't be near me. Because you're dangerous? I arch a brow. You think I don't know that? No, he says quietly. Because they'll come for you now. You saw their faces. I look toward the slit of daylight. I've been running from people my whole life. I can manage a few more. He watches me, the weight of his gaze too heavy for the small cave. You're not afraid. I'm terrified, I admit. But fear isn't a reason to abandon someone who's bleeding. He exhales through his nose, a sound like disbelief dressed as laughter. You're either foolish or brave. Maybe both. Outside, the forest begins to wake. Birds trading songs, the wind brushing through the leaves like a hand smoothing hair. It should feel peaceful. It doesn't. The air hums with tension, like the world knows something is coming. I start repacking herbs into their pouches. You need to rest another day before you move. I can't stay. He pushes himself upright, grimacing but managing it. If I'm found here, your pack will burn your name off their walls. I pause. You think they'd need an excuse? He frowns. You talk as if your pack isn't yours. It stopped being mine the day they told me I wasn't worth saving. The words hang there, raw and uninvited. I don't usually let them out. But he doesn't judge. He just studies me. Something softer blooming behind his sternness. What's your name again? He asks, though I know he remembers. Aria. He repeats it under his breath, tasting it like a spell. Aria, you shouldn't have crossed that river. Neither should you. That earns a real smile this time. Small, tired, dangerous in its warmth. Perhaps not. I glance at his shoulder wound. Who were they? The ones chasing you? He goes still, the change immediate. The air thickens around him, as if invisible chains have pulled tight. Traitors, he says finally. Once part of my guard, now part of something worse. What do they want? Me dead, he says simply. Or dethroned. Whichever hurts more. The word throned snaps like thunder in my chest. My wolf stirs. You are... Yes. His gaze sharpens, daring me to react. The Alpha King. Silence folds over the space. The forest hum fades until all I can hear is the pulse in my ears. I guessed as much, I whisper. The stories don't do you justice. He tilts his head. And what do they say? That you rule with iron and moonlight, that you broke a rebellion with your bare hands, that no one dares speak your name. And what do you believe? I believe, I say carefully, that stories always leave out the parts that make kings human. He studies me again, longer this time, like he's trying to decide whether I'm dangerous or necessary. You shouldn't know who I am. Too late. His jaw tightens. Then you understand the risk you've taken. I do, I say, and I'd take it again. Something shifts in him, a crack, subtle and fleeting, but enough. The hardness in his posture softens by a breath. He leans back against the roots and closes his eyes. The first real surrender I've seen from him. Outside, thunder grumbles far away, echoing like a warning from gods too tired to intervene. Rest, I tell him. You'll need strength if you plan to reclaim your crown. His voice is almost a whisper. And what will you need, little Omega? I glance at him. A reason to stop running. He doesn't answer, but his hand drifts close to mine on the ground, fingers brushing the edge of my sleeve. Not a touch, just proximity. The kind that says more than contact ever could. For the first time since the storm, I let my shoulders drop. The forest hums again, steady, alive. I should fear him. Maybe I do. But beneath that fear, something else hums louder. An understanding. A connection neither of us asked for, but both of us already feel forming. I watch him drift back to sleep, his breathing deep and even, the weight of royalty invisible here beneath dirt and root. Without the crown, without the legends, he's just a man who almost drowned, and I'm just the girl who pulled him out. But deep inside, my wolf whispers what I'm not ready to believe. Fate doesn't care about crowns, and somewhere between the roots and the river's lullaby, I realize I'm not just protecting a king. I'm protecting the beginning of something that could burn the world down if I'm not careful. The third dawn comes without light. The sky is the color of bruised steel, the forest holding its breath as if waiting for something to break. The air tastes wrong, too still, too watchful. Even the birds keep their songs caged. The Alpha King wakes before I do. I sense it first. The quiet shift of air, the slow rasp of cloth against bark. By the time my eyes open, he's already outside the hollow, shirt half-buttoned, gaze fixed on the tree line. He doesn't move when I join him, only says, "They're closer than they should be." How do you know? His answer is simple. Because the forest has stopped listening. I hear it then too, the absence. No rustle of small lives in the undergrowth. No trickle of river laughter. Just the wind, turning in slow, uncertain circles. They've crossed the river, he murmurs. The scent is faint, but it's there. I follow his eyes toward the ridge. Then we leave before the trail sharpens. He shakes his head. You're not coming. I almost laugh. I saved your life. You really think I'd stay behind now? His gaze drops to me, a quiet storm. Aria, if they find you with me, they'll use you. They'll make you watch while they finish what the river couldn't. And you think leaving me here makes me safer? I snap. They'll smell your blood on me before nightfall. Something in his expression shifts. Anger first, then the dull ache beneath it. You're impossible. So I've been told. The silence between us is heavy, stretched thin by fear and something stranger. His jaw flexes once before he says, "Then you move when I move. You stay downwind. And if I tell you to run, I won't." He exhales sharply, a sound half growl, half sigh. "You're going to be the death of me." I shoulder the satchel and meet his eyes. "Not if I keep saving your life." We travel through the heart of the forest, where sunlight barely touches the ground. The path twists around boulders and fallen trunks, the scent of wet moss rising like memory. He moves like shadow, silent, measured, predatory even in pain. I follow close, matching my breath to his, every step a prayer not to be heard. Hours pass before the first sound reaches us, a distant howl, long and sharp, cutting through the quiet. Not the call of a wolf, a signal. He stops dead. His nostrils flare. 3 miles, he says. Maybe less. Then we hide. No, he says, low and final. We hunt. I stare at him. You can barely stand. Standing's enough. He looks toward the west ridge where the howl came from, his eyes dark gold again, the fire returning. They won't stop, not until I end this myself. What are they? I ask. Rogues? Rebels? Both, he says. And neither. They were mine once, my guard, men I trusted with my life, until they trusted something darker. What something? His jaw tightens. A promise of freedom from the bond that ties us to the moon. They called it liberation. And you called it treason. He glances at me, unreadable. You speak as if both can't be true. The path narrows. We crawl beneath a fallen pine, our shoulders brushing bark slick with rain. When I rise on the other side, he's already scanning the ridge ahead. They won't expect me to be this close, he says. They'll think I'm running west to the mountains. Where are you going instead? Home. The word lands between us like a blade. I frown. Home? You mean the capital? Yes. You can't walk into your own castle bleeding and hunted. He looks over his shoulder at me, and for the first time, I see something dangerous in his calm. Aria, I don't intend to walk. By nightfall, we reach the stone bridge that cuts across the valley, a relic from a war long before either of us. The moon climbs through torn clouds, white fire spilling over the broken arches. He stops at the edge, eyes locked on the far side. They're here. I feel it too then, the shift in the air, the quiet thrum of danger. Figures moving just beyond sight, the metallic scent of weapons bleeding into the wind. Stay behind me, he says. I shake my head. No. He turns, a warning in his stare, but before he can speak, a voice echoes across the bridge. Well, it says, smooth as ice. The king does crawl after all. A man steps out of the mist, tall, silver hair glinting in the moonlight, his armor bearing the same crest that adorns the king's ring. Kaelin, the Alpha says, his tone colder than the river. I should have known. You should have, Kaelin replies. But mercy blinds even kings. Not mercy, the Alpha says. Loyalty. Kaelin smiles, the kind that means he's already chosen which truth to kill first. You always mistook one for the other. His eyes flick to me then, briefly but enough. And this? Your healer? Or your weakness? I feel the Alpha tense. Leave her out of this. Kaelin's smile widens. Oh, I wouldn't dream of it. Every crown needs a martyr. The world moves too fast after that. Kaelin lifts his hand. Shadows peel from the mist. Wolves, 6 at least, each with eyes like cut obsidian. The bridge trembles with their steps. The Alpha steps forward, the night bending around him. Stay back, he murmurs to me. But I can't. I watch the moon catch in his hair, in the blood at his collar, and I know, whatever happens, this is the moment that will decide what kind of story we are. The wolves leap, He meets them head on. The sound is chaos and thunder, the clash of teeth and steel and fury. I can't breathe. He moves like something ancient. Every strike a memory of war, every breath a defiance of death. One wolf breaks through. I barely see him before he's on me, jaws open, breath hot with rot. Instinct overrides thought. I grab a broken stone from the bridge and swing. It connects with a wet crack. The creature collapses, twitching. My hands are shaking, slick with his blood. When I look up, Kalen's eyes are on me. "Ah," he says softly. "There she is." The Alpha turns, sees the blood on me, and something in him snaps. His roar shakes the bridge, primal and unbound. He slams Kalen to the ground, claws digging deep. "Call them off," he growls. Kalen coughs, blood on his lips, and smiles through it. "You'll have to kill me for that." Gladly. Before the final blow lands, a second howl splits the air, a sound so sharp it tears the night open. The wolves freeze. Even the Alpha goes still. It's not a call of war. It's a call of command. Kalen's smile grows weaker but triumphant. Seems my queen has arrived. And from the mist, she steps forward, tall, regal, her eyes the same gold as his, but colder. The Alpha King's breath stutters once. "Lyria," he says, voice breaking like lightning through bone. The woman smiles, beautiful and cruel. "Hello, my husband." The wind stops. My heart stops. The world stops. And I finally understand what kind of war I've stepped into. The moment she said husband, the night forgot how to breathe. Even the river below stilled, its endless song breaking mid-note. The Alpha King's eyes, those molten gold storms I'd come to read like scripture, turned unreadable. The kind of stillness that isn't peace, but the edge of a blade before it drops. The woman stepped forward, her dress whispering like flame through fog. She was beautiful the way fire is, mesmerizing, consuming, dangerous to touch. Every motion was deliberate, crafted for command. The wolves that had come with Kalen lowered their heads as she passed, as if gravity itself bowed to her. "Lyria," he said again, quieter this time. Not disbelief, not affection, just the heavy sound of a wound remembering itself. She smiled, and the world dimmed around it. "You left me to die," his jaw tightened. "You chose your side. I chose survival," she said. "You call it betrayal because you lost." Her gaze slid to me then, slow and sharp, measuring. "And this is what the mighty Alpha King keeps in exile? A healer, an Omega?" I didn't flinch, but it felt like she could smell my pulse. "She saved my life," he said. Lyria laughed, a sound that didn't belong in this century, sharp enough to slice the fog. "Of course she did. They always do. The kind ones, the broken ones. You collect them like penance." He stepped forward. "Leave her out of this." "Oh, I would love to," she purred, circling him like a storm with a human shape. "But she reeks of bond." "You didn't notice? The thread's already forming." My heart stopped. "Bond?" Her smile widened at my reaction. "Ah, you didn't tell her," I turned to him. "What is she talking about?" He didn't answer. That silence said everything. Lyria's tone softened, almost pitying. "Oh, poor thing. You think you saved a man, but you woke a bond that was never meant for you." "Enough," he growled. Her eyes blazed gold. "No, my king. You don't get to silence me anymore." Lightning tore across the clouds above us, white fire cracking the sky. It painted her face in light and shadow, half angel, half executioner. "Do you even remember the vow you made to me? The night we buried the rebellion?" His hands curled into fists. "I remember the lies that came after." "The lies?" she echoed, stepping closer until their breaths met. "You speak of lies while standing beside her?" She looked at me again, disgust threading her tone. "You always did prefer the fragile ones, the ones who need saving. It makes you feel like a god." He didn't answer. He just stared at her with that quiet rage that scares more than shouting ever could. Then she did something strange. She reached out and touched his chest, right over the stitches I'd sewn. He didn't move. She dragged her fingers along the thread, slow, reverent, cruel. "They bled you," she whispered, And she mended you. How poetic, how temporary. I stepped forward before I realized I was moving. You don't get to touch him. Her eyes snapped to me, sharp, luminous, amused. And what are you going to do, little Omega? Heal me to death? The Alpha King moved before I could. He caught her wrist mid-air, grip iron. Don't. For the first time, she faltered. Just for a heartbeat. Her smile slipped, and I saw something else. Grief. Buried so deep it looked like fury. Once, she said quietly. You held my hand like that because you were afraid I'd disappear. He released her as if burned. And then you made sure I did. The silence after that felt like a prayer no one wanted to finish. Kaelin, still half kneeling on the stone, wiped blood from his mouth and laughed. Well, this is awkward. Lyria turned to him sharply. Kill the girl. My breath caught. The Alpha King's snarl was instant. Feral. You will not touch her. Still defending her? Lyria hissed. You think you can have both, your kingdom and your weakness? She's not my weakness. Then why does your heart stutter when I say her name? He went utterly still. I didn't want to hear my name in her mouth again. It sounded wrong there, tainted, turned into something sharp. Lyria stepped back, smirking. You can't protect her forever. The bond will destroy one of you, and I'd bet it won't be you, my love. Then she turned to Kaelin. Fall back. We'll let the river finish what she started. Kaelin hesitated, blood still dripping from his lip. My queen! Do it! She snapped. The wolves obeyed first. They melted into the mist like ghosts. Kaelin followed, limping, his smirk fading into shadow. Lyria lingered last, her gaze sweeping over me one final time. When he bleeds again, she said softly, remember this moment, because he'll bleed for you next. And then she was gone. The silence that followed was louder than thunder. The bridge, the fog, the river, all of it felt hollow. I turned to him. Tell me it isn't true. He didn't look at me. Tell me there isn't a bond. His voice came low, almost broken. I didn't ask for it. That's not an answer. He met my eyes then, and it hurt to see the truth there. The night you pulled me from the river, something shifted. The moon marked it. The bond began before I could stop it. Stop it? I whispered. Like it's a curse? He stepped toward me, rain still dripping from his hair, eyes burning with something I couldn't name. You don't understand what it means, Aria. My blood, my power. If the bond completes, it ties your life to mine, and my enemies will use that to end you. I swallowed hard. Then break it. I can't. The wind screamed through the arches like a warning. He reached for me then, but stopped just shy of touching. His hand hovered in the space between us, trembling with everything unsaid. I should have left you, he said, voice cracking on the edge of confession. You would have been safe. Safe isn't living, I said quietly. His jaw clenched. You don't know what you're saying. Maybe not. But I know what I'm feeling. He looked at me then, really looked. Like he was searching for the lie and not finding it. The gold in his eyes flickered softer this time. You're not supposed to be here, he murmured. Neither were you, I said. But here we are. For a long moment, there was nothing but the sound of the river and the ghosts of everything neither of us could undo. He finally turned away, his voice barely a whisper. If you stay, you'll be hunted. I stepped closer. The space between us charged like lightning about to choose where to strike. Then I'll run with the king who lost his crown. He didn't smile, but his shoulders eased, just barely. You don't know what you're offering. Maybe not, I said. But I know this. Whatever follows, I'm not leaving you to bleed alone again. He exhaled, a sound like surrender wrapped in sorrow. Then, for the first time since the storm, he said my name like a promise, Aria. The river below surged, a shiver through the stones, as if the world itself had heard. And above us, behind the clouds, the moon broke through, pale and full, a witness to a bond that neither of us had chosen, but both were already chained to. What neither of us saw was the shadow watching from the far ridge. Lyria, her eyes burning gold through the fog. She smiled, whispering to the wind, let him fall in love. Then let it destroy him. And somewhere deep inside me, my wolf stirred, whispering something I wasn't ready to believe. The queen thinks she's ending him. But she's awakening you. The moon did not sleep that night. It hung above the forest like an open wound, bleeding red light across the trees, the stones, the river that had almost swallowed him. We didn't return to the hollow. He wouldn't risk it, not now that she had found us. The Alpha King moved through the forest in silence, every sense alive, his bare feet hardly touching the earth. I followed behind, matching his rhythm, every nerve strung tight. The blood moon watched us. It felt like being seen by something older than guilt itself. He didn't speak until the wind shifted again, carrying the scent of iron and wet pine. "They'll come before dawn," he said. "She won't forgive what happened on that bridge." "She's your mate," I said, the words tasting bitter and wrong in my mouth. "Why would she try to kill you?" His shoulders stiffened, and I heard the sound of his breath before his words. She was, once. But bonds can rot like roots in shallow earth. Power does that. It eats love first. He stopped at a clearing, where an old stone well sat half swallowed by ivy. The air smelled of age and secrets. "She made a deal with something that doesn't belong in our world," he continued. "A shadow that promised her freedom from the moon's law. It demanded blood in return. Yours, and anyone who stood between her and the throne," he said. "Now you understand why she wants you dead." The night pressed closer, thick with dread. "What kind of shadow?" I asked. He looked at me, gold eyes glowing faintly in the dark. "An ancient one, the kind even the gods don't name anymore, the kind that can turn wolves into monsters." Before I could answer, a sound shattered the quiet, distant howls, echoing through the valley. Dozens. The hunt had begun. He turned to me, his face unreadable, his voice calm in the way fire is calm before it devours. "When they come, I want you to run north. You'll find a cave by the ridge with runes carved in the stone. It's protected. I'm not leaving you. This isn't bravery, Aria. It's suicide. Then we die together." His jaw clenched, a muscle ticking at his temple. "You don't understand what's chasing us. These aren't men anymore." "I don't care," I said, stepping closer. "You told me once the river chose me. Maybe this is why." For a heartbeat, he just looked at me. No command, no crown, no distance. Just a man standing beneath a cursed sky, staring at the one thing he couldn't control. "Aria," he said, my name cracking like something sacred. "If I lose myself tonight, You won't," I cut in. "You're stronger than that." His smile was faint, almost human. "I hope you're right." Then the forest exploded. Branches snapped. Shadows lunged. The first wolf came from the left, eyes gleaming like molten glass. I barely saw him before the alpha was already moving, grace and violence stitched into one motion. He caught the creature midair, slammed it into a tree, claws tearing through fur and bone. Another followed. Then two more. The clearing became chaos. Growls, blood, moonlight flashing off claws. I ducked behind the old well, grabbing a broken spear from the ground, relic from another fight long lost. My heart pounded like a drum. One of the creatures saw me and charged. I raised the spear too late. A blur of gold and shadow collided with it. The Alpha King, his body a wall between me and death. He tore the beast apart before it reached me, blood spraying across his chest. His breathing was rough now, deeper, heavier, and then I saw it. His eyes weren't gold anymore. They were black, rimmed with crimson light. "Get back," he snarled, voice fractured. "Wrong." "Lucien," he staggered, clawing at his chest. "The shadow. She's using it. She's trying to break me." I moved toward him, but the air thickened, humming with dark energy. The ground trembled beneath us. From somewhere deep within the forest came a low, impossible growl, the kind that doesn't belong to any living thing. He dropped to his knees, veins in his arms pulsing like molten fire. "Stay away, Aria. If I lose control, I won't—" I didn't listen. I knelt before him, cupping his face in both hands. His skin burned against my palms. "Look at me," I said, voice steady though my heart was breaking. "You're here. With me, not her, not the shadow." He tried to pull away, but I held on. "You told me I woke something in you. Then let it be this." For a heartbeat, the darkness flickered, like a candle guttering against wind. His eyes shifted, black bleeding back to gold. He inhaled sharply, clutching my wrists like they were lifelines. "Aria," he whispered. The air around us snapped like a breaking spell. The growls faded, replaced by the sound of retreating paws and ragged breathing. When silence fell, it was heavy with the scent of iron and rain. He looked at me as if trying to remember how to speak. "You shouldn't have done that," he said finally, voice rough. "I told you," I murmured, brushing blood from his cheek. "I don't run." A small, haunted smile touched his lips. "Then the world should fear you more than it fears me." The forest exhaled, the blood moon sinking behind the trees. But even as the first pale hints of dawn bled through, I knew peace was a lie. He would heal. The rogues would return, and Lyria's shadow was still moving, somewhere behind the hills, watching, waiting. We were not free. Not yet, but for the first time, when he reached for my hand and didn't let go, I felt something stronger than fear pulsing between us. Not fate. Not the bond. Choice. And choice, I realized, could be the most dangerous magic of all. Dawn never felt this heavy before. It arrived slowly, bleeding through the mist like a wound trying to heal. The forest steamed from last night's blood, and the air carried that strange silence that comes after survival. Too still, too uncertain. The Alpha King stood at the edge of the clearing, bare-chested, shoulders streaked with claw marks in moonlight. His wounds had begun to close, but I could see the tremor in his hands. Not weakness, something else. Restraint. He was fighting the darkness Lyria had left inside him. We hadn't spoken since the fight. The world between us felt crowded with words neither of us could say. I sat by the well, cleaning the blade I'd used to defend us. Its edge caught the morning light, thin and cold as truth. He finally turned toward me. "You shouldn't have stayed." I didn't look up. "You shouldn't have survived." He blinked, then a soft, humorless laugh escaped him. Fair silence again, only the wind answering for us. When he spoke next, his voice was low, the kind of quiet that meant he wasn't talking to me so much as confessing to the air. "When the moon first chose me as king, I thought power meant control. Over others, over fate, over myself." He looked down at his hands. "Now I see power as only the illusion of control. The real test is what you can protect when the illusion breaks." I set the blade aside and stood. Then protect something real. His eyes lifted to mine, gold rimmed with exhaustion, but steady. "You." The word fell between us like lightning and rain. Before I could breathe, the forest shifted again. Birds bursting from the trees, the distant cry of horns echoing through the valley. The enemy wasn't gone. They'd regrouped. "They're moving toward the capital," he said, voice hard again, kingly now. "If they reach it first, Lyria will claim the throne. Then we reach it faster." He frowned. "You mean we?" "Yes," I said, stepping closer. "You'll need someone to keep you alive long enough to win." He almost smiled. "You have a habit of defying orders." "I have a habit of saving lives," I corrected. "Yours included." For the first time, the edge in his voice softened completely. "Aria, when we cross that border, there will be no turning back. Lyria will sense us the moment we enter her territory. She'll come herself." "Good," I said. "I'm tired of running from her shadow." Something in my tone must have struck him. He nodded once, as if conceding a silent argument. "Then it's time we end this." We reached the ridge by midday. From there, the world opened, the valley sprawling like an emerald sea, and in the distance, the capital rose, spires of black stone, smoke curling from its heart, the royal banner torn and half-burned. He went still beside me. "My home. Not yet," I said. "Not until you take it back." He looked at me, eyes bright against the pale sky. "If I fall, you won't." "Aria," I cut him off. If you fall, I'll carry you. That's what bonds are for, isn't it? He didn't answer, but I saw the way his throat moved, the way the truth hurt and healed him all at once. We moved together down the slope, through the high grass and into the ruins of the outer wall. The city gates stood open, but not from mercy. The metal was twisted, burned. The scent of magic clung to it, wrong and cold. Lyria's already here, he said. The sky darkened without warning. Clouds rolled in fast, swallowing the sun. A whisper crawled through the air, a woman's voice carried by the wind. You should have stayed dead, my love. He turned toward the sound, his jaw locking. She's near, the ground shuddered. From the palace's broken archway, Lyria emerged, dressed in black, her eyes glowing gold and violet, the mark of shadow magic pulsing beneath her skin. Her beauty was ruined now, sharp and hollow. You brought her, she said, gaze landing on me. How predictable. Every king needs a witness for his downfall. The Alpha King stepped forward. This ends now, Lyria. Oh, I agree, she purred. But not the way you think. She raised her hand and the world tore. The air split into veins of red lightning, shadows spilling from them like smoke made solid. Wolves, twisted, eyeless things, clawed their way into existence. He lunged. She met him midair. The collision cracked the air. Power against power. Moonlight against shadow. I ducked behind a pillar, heart hammering, then ran forward when I saw the blood bloom across his shoulder. He fought like a storm, but she was faster, feeding on something darker than rage. Every blow she took, the shadows healed. Every strike he landed cost him more. I didn't think. I moved. I reached for the rune-marked amulet he wore, the one that tied his strength to the moon, and pressed my palm against it. Take mine, I whispered. Whatever I have, take it. He tried to shove me back. No, Aria, stop, but it was too late. The bond snapped fully into place. A surge of heat and light ripped through us both. My vision went white, my body weightless. I could feel him. Every heartbeat, every breath, every wound. And through that bond, I saw it. The shadow feeding on Lyria's soul. Not her will, not her magic. Something older, using her like a vessel. Lucien, I gasped. She's not alone in there. His eyes widened. Then we end them both. He grabbed my hand. Together, we pressed our palms to the ground. The earth glowed beneath us, the sigil of the first moon forming, a circle of light, old as the world itself. Lyria screamed. The shadows thrashed. The air turned white-hot. Aria, he shouted over the roar. Don't let go. I'm not letting you die again. The light expanded, swallowing the throne room, the city, the sky. Everything burning gold and silver until all I could see was his face through the chaos. His hand gripping mine like the universe depended on it. Then, silence. When the light faded, the palace stood whole again. The shadows were gone. Lyria lay still, her body human once more. Her eyes finally closed in peace. Lucien, the Alpha King, stood at the center of it all, chest heaving, crownless but alive. He looked at me, awe softening the edges of his power. It's over, I whispered. He shook his head. No, it's beginning. He stepped closer, lifting my chin with trembling fingers. You didn't just save me, Aria. You saved our world. And before I could answer, he kissed me, not the way kings do, but the way men do when the war is finally over. The bond pulsed once. Steady, no longer a chain but a promise. Outside, the first light of true dawn broke through the clouds, spilling over the city like forgiveness. The Alpha King turned toward his ruined throne and said quietly, "The crown is no longer mine." He looked at me, eyes soft, fierce, alive. It's ours. And for the first time, I believed that love, even in a world of wolves and war, could be more than fate. It could be choice. And choice, in the hands of those who have bled for it, becomes destiny. You've been listening to the Alpha Love Stories, where fate, blood, and love collide under a moon that never forgets. If this story touched your heart, like the video, subscribe to our channel, and share your thoughts below. We post daily alpha love stories, and we're chasing our next goal, 1,000 subscribers.